What's up, everybody? So I was talking about this last night with Kanye, and within hours of me making that video, he gets himself banned. Well, first he was suspended. He sent a video. He made a post about, or he did a swastika post, I guess, and then he did the Elon Musk personal post. But it's pretty much what all of us predicted, expected, whatever. The first thing I want to say is this utopian vision of a absolute free speech platform, at least a mainstream one, doesn't exist. It doesn't fucking exist. It probably never will. It never has. So I'm almost tired of this argument. You know, this argument like, oh, well, free speech should exist, the First Amendment. We should be able to say whatever we want, almost without consequence or without being silenced. People say this all the time, but it does. Like I'm saying, it doesn't exist. It never will exist. People are either full of shit, but really more. They just don't understand how the dynamics work here. Because there's never going to be a place that allows like neo-Nazi beliefs to be posted or whatever somebody's thinking that also allows, you know, the promotion of being a pedo or just other inappropriate shit. So I think people just aren't going through the thinking process when they say, oh, I expect the site for me to say whatever I want, anything that's legal. Because there's a lot of objectionable shit that people don't want to hear, that people get upset about, that's legal, okay? So are we going to have a site where people are saying, some guy is like, yeah, God, I'm really attracted to 5-year-olds, you know? Why can't we act on that? Like, we should be able to act on that, you know, within the law, legally. Like, come on. There's not going to be a mainstream platform that allows that to happen. Because there would be the same type of pressure that was put on Elon about Kanye. Or there's a million other objectionable things that just the public wouldn't stand for it, users wouldn't stand for it. So there's always these whataboutisms, right? Like, well, Kanye just used words, but President Bush is allowed on Twitter, and he actually killed real people. You know, like, these things that are true, but just aren't sensical. And then there has to be a subjective judgment, because you can't write a computer program or something that decides what's allowed, who's allowed. Because if you say you don't, pretty much everyone agrees you can't glorify violence, right? You can't call for violence. Okay. What about supporting Ukraine in this war? What about hoping Russia loses? Or supporting our troops in a war? I mean, isn't that kind of promoting violence in a way? I would say yes. But that's not at all objectionable to me. So it's really difficult to run a platform like this and decide who stays and who goes. And Elon said he was promoting violence. He was violating rules against violence. I mean, that's not really the case with Kanye, unless you extrapolate it out like a few steps, you know. I would say he was inciting against groups, you know. And then there's all these arguments like, oh, well, this person said they liked Mao, and he killed more people. You know what I mean? So you can never be 100% consistent with people's expectations or these whataboutism arguments. But that still doesn't mean that you don't ban people. Like, people glorifying being a pedo, or I was thinking about this too. Kanye had 33 million followers. I can't even imagine that amount of power. Like, what other medium allows you to instantaneously communicate with that many people? Nothing. I mean, Tucker doesn't have the power to instantaneously communicate with 30 million people. He can get a few million people on his show. But this allows you 30, 32, 33 million people instantaneously with a few touches of a button. Because his, one Twitter account is basically the same as the other, but the amount of followers is just astronomical on these social media platforms. Like, it is really hard to comprehend how much power that actually is on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. I don't know. I don't use all these websites, but it's a lot more than any other medium. So I think that's why there is the pushback to somebody like Elon having that much reach and promoting Hitler or the swastika or whatever. But I'm not surprised. This idea that we're going to have a free speech platform, a mainstream one, because I even asked this in one of my chats, like, what place allows you to say whatever they want? If it's a right-wing thing, they're not going to allow LGBT, or maybe they'll ban porn or something like this that's offensive to them. And leftists or liberals are going to ban anything about Nazism or whatever. But he did say Gab is more of a free speech platform, which, I think that's accurate. It's also a fucking cesspool if you go on it. Like, I don't think anybody wants to go on Gab that hasn't been banned from everywhere else and just wants to engage in really risque type of conversation or really forbidden ideas, etc. Like, no normal person really wants to be on Gab. It's kind of a freak show, like a couple other places. But I think it's the way it's always going to be. There's never going to be a mainstream platform that platforms like Andrew Anglin and also wants to be good with normies who really wouldn't tolerate a personality like that. So it's really not surprising. It'll be interesting to see what happens next with Kanye. But to me, it's perfectly understandable why he was banned. I mean, you have normal people on a platform. They're gonna leave if it's, Andrew Anglin and Kanye and everybody else. And then you could say, oh, who cares? The priority is free speech. I don't think people want free speech. I don't think people understand what that means. Where anything goes on a platform. It would kind of turn into shit. And I've talked before about if there was a society that had no implications for what you said, or just let anything go, it would turn into Gab. It would turn into a cesspool. So it's good that certain things are shunned and not tolerated, and certain people are shunned and not tolerated. Otherwise, anything would go. Nazism, advocating for pedos, I don't know, making fun of kids with cancer. Like, it would be a pretty unpleasant place, let's say. So, I don't know. That's all I got to say about Mr. Kanye West. It'll be interesting to see what happens.